Are you just chasing a label, or do you actually live the Sigma life? Most men think they're lone wolves, but their actions betray them, craving attention, stalling on dreams, leaning on others for strength. The truth stings. Sigma males don't need validation. They forge their own path. If you're wondering where you stand, this video will cut through the noise with brutal clarity. Welcome to Sigma Male Community, where we strip away illusions and build men who thrive on self-mastery, resilience, and unshakable purpose. Today we're diving into 11 undeniable signs you're not a Sigma male, because real growth starts with facing the mirror. These aren't just observations. They're a wake-up call for any man committed to excellence. Let's get to it. 1. You're addicted to the spotlight, not the craft. A true Sigma male doesn't hunger for applause. He's fueled by an internal fire that burns whether anyone's watching or not. Picture a man toiling in his workshop, crafting something extraordinary, not because it'll trend on social media, but because it's an extension of his soul. If your motivation collapses the moment the crowd turns away, you're not a lone wolf. You're a performer craving a stage. Sigmas embrace obscurity as their proving ground, grinding in silence for months, even years, knowing recognition might never come. They don't just tolerate the shadows, they own them. Ask yourself, can you pour your heart into your work with no promise of praise? If the answer's no, you're not wired like a Sigma. The Stoic mindset here is clear. Focus on what you control, your effort, your discipline, your craft. External validation is a distraction, a fleeting gust of wind that means nothing to a man rooted in purpose. Sigma Male Community exists to remind you, the real work happens when no one's watching. Stop chasing claps and start building something that lasts. This addiction to attention often masks a deeper insecurity, a need to be seen to feel alive. Think of the guy who posts every gym session online, not because he loves training but because he needs likes to justify the sweat. A Sigma doesn't measure his worth by eyeballs. His standards are internal, forged through relentless self-assessment. Stoicism teaches us to detach from others' opinions, to judge ourselves by our own principles. If you're constantly checking who's watching, you're not free, you're tethered to the crowd's whims. The Sigma's strength lies in his ability to stand alone, to create without an audience, to find joy in the process itself. That's the craft over the spotlight. Now let's flip the script. Imagine you're working on a project, maybe a business, a book, or a skill. No one knows about it. No one's cheering you on. Months pass and it's just you and the grind. Does that thought excite you or make you shrink? A Sigma thrives in that solitude, where the only voice that matters is his own. He's not seduced by quick wins or fleeting hype. He's playing a long game, one where the reward is self-respect, not applause. If you're chasing the spotlight, you're not just missing the Sigma mark. You're missing the chance to build something truly yours. The takeaway? Redirect your energy inward. Stop seeking external noise to fuel your fire. A Sigma's motivation is self-sustaining, like a furnace that never runs cold. At Sigma Male Community, we're not here to coddle you with praise, we're here to push you toward that inner strength. Let go of the need for attention, and you'll find a power that no crowd can give or take away. That's the Sigma way, silent, relentless, unbreakable. 2. Your goals are all talk, no grind. Big dreams are cheap, everyone's got them. The Sigma male doesn't just dream, he builds brick by brick even when the world doubts him. If your master plan is a scribble in your notes app, untouched for months, you're not a visionary, you're a talker. Picture a man who says he'll start a business but spends years planning without a single step forward. That's not Sigma behavior, it's paralysis by perfectionism. Sigmas don't wait for the perfect moment. They launch, flawed and all, because execution is their gospel. Stoicism fuels this mindset. Focus on action, not outcomes. Control what you can, your effort, your discipline, and let the results unfold. This gap between talk and action often stems from fear. Fear of failure, fear of looking foolish. But a Sigma doesn't let fear dictate his moves. He's not reckless, but he's decisive, understanding that a flawed first step is better than a perfect fantasy. Think of a writer who publishes a rough draft rather than endlessly tweaking it. That's Sigma grit, choosing progress over procrastination. Stoic philosophy reinforces this. You can't control success, but you can control your commitment to the work. If you're stuck in the planning phase, you're not just failing to act, you're failing to trust yourself. Contrast that with the Sigma's approach. He's already moving while others are still talking. He's the entrepreneur who launches a product with bugs, knowing he'll refine it later. He's the athlete who trains through injuries not because he's reckless, but because he knows progress demands sacrifice. If your goals are just words, you're not building, you're daydreaming. The Sigma's life is a series of calculated risks, each one a testament to his belief in action over excuses. So what's stopping you? If your dreams are gathering dust, it's time to face the truth. Talk is easy, but the grind is where Sigmas are forged. Stop polishing ideas and start executing them. At Sigma Male Community, we're not here to hype you up with empty promises, we're here to challenge you to move. Take one step today, no matter how small. That's the Stoic way. Small, deliberate actions compound into a life of purpose. Don't just dream like a Sigma, act like one. 3. You need a cheerleader to stay disciplined. A Sigma male's discipline is like a fortress, self-built, self-sustained, impervious to external storms. If your motivation crumbles without a coach, a buddy, or a social media post to keep you accountable, you're not a Sigma, you're outsourcing your willpower. Imagine a man who only hits the gym when his friends are watching or posts his progress for likes. That's not discipline, that's performance. Sigmas don't need external props. They thrive in the quiet, unglamorous moments of consistency, where temptation and boredom test their resolve. Stoicism teaches us to master ourselves, to find strength in solitude, not in applause. This need for external motivation often hides a lack of self-trust. If you rely on others to keep you on track, you're admitting you can't rely on yourself. A Sigma's discipline is internal, a quiet contract with himself that holds firm through stress, doubt, or isolation. Think of a marathon runner training at dawn, not for a crowd but for his own standard of excellence. Stoic principles shine here. Focus on what's within your control, your effort, your choices, and let the rest fall away. If you need a cheerleader, you're not leading your own life. Consider the alternative, a Sigma facing a grueling project, alone with no one to impress. He doesn't falter because his why is internal, self-respect, growth, mastery. He doesn't need a pat on the back to keep going. His commitment is enough. If solitude or boredom derails your discipline, you're not self-sufficient. You're dependent on external sparks to ignite your fire. That's not the Sigma way. A true lone wolf builds habits that endure no matter the conditions. The challenge? Build discipline that doesn't rely on others. Start small, commit to a daily habit like writing or training, and do it without telling anyone. Test yourself in silence. At Sigma Male Community, we believe real strength is forged in the quiet moments. Embrace the Stoic art of self-mastery, and you'll find a resilience that no external force can shake. Stop waiting for cheers, start building your fortress. 4. You confuse status with strength. Flashy watches, name-dropping, subtle flexes. These are the crutches of men who need validation to feel whole. A Sigma male's confidence isn't tied to logos or likes. It's forged in the fire of his own achievements. If you feel a pang when your status symbols go unnoticed, you're not a Sigma. You're still chasing society's approval. Picture a man who walks into a room, unbothered by who notices his presence. That's Sigma strength, quiet, unshakable, rooted in self-assurance. Stoicism guides this. True power lies in controlling your own mind, not others' perceptions. This obsession with status often stems from a need to prove yourself. To others, to yourself. But a Sigma doesn't need external markers to know his worth. He's the guy who wears plain clothes not because he can't afford better, but because he doesn't care to advertise. His success is private, his victories personal. Stoic wisdom teaches us to detach from fleeting symbols, wealth, fame, clout, and focus on what endures: character, integrity, purpose. If you're chasing status, you're playing a game you can never win. Think of the man who brags about his connections or his car, hoping it elevates him. Now compare that to the Sigma who lets his work speak for itself, indifferent to whether you notice. One is fragile, tethered to others' opinions. The other is a rock, unmoved by the world's noise. If you're still measuring your worth by external metrics, you're not free, you're trapped in a cycle of comparison. Sigmas break that cycle by defining their own standards. The path forward? Let go of the need to impress. Strip away the props and ask, who are you without the symbols? At Sigma Male Community, we're here to guide you toward true strength, the kind that doesn't need a spotlight or a status update. Embrace the Stoic principle of self-reliance, and you'll build a confidence that no one can take away. Stop chasing status, start chasing substance. 5. You blame before you analyze. When life throws a curveball, a Sigma male doesn't point fingers, he dissects the problem starting with himself. Blaming others is the reflex of the weak, a way to dodge responsibility. If your first instinct is to pin failure on someone else, you're not a Sigma, you're avoiding the mirror. Picture a leader who, after a failed project, calmly reviews his own decisions before looking outward. That's Sigma ownership, rooted in the Stoic belief that you control your reactions, not the world's outcomes. This tendency to blame often comes from discomfort with self-reflection. It's easier to scapegoat a coworker, the economy, or bad luck than to face your own missteps. But a Sigma thrives on clarity, not excuses. He's the guy who, after a setback, sits down with a notebook, maps out what went wrong and adjusts his approach. Stoicism demands this: focus on what you can control, your analysis, your growth, and let go of the rest. Blame wastes energy, ownership builds power. Contrast that with the man who rants about his boss or his circumstances, stuck in a loop of resentment. He's not moving forward, he's just loud. A Sigma, meanwhile, is already iterating, learning, adapting. He knows setbacks are data, not defeats. If you're quick to blame, you're not just missing the Sigma mindset, you're missing the chance to grow stronger through adversity. The fix? Next time something goes wrong, pause. Ask, what did I miss? What can I do better? At Sigma Male Community, we're not here to shield you from hard truths, we're here to push you toward them. Embrace the Stoic art of self-examination, and you'll turn failures into stepping stones. Stop blaming, start building. You're watching this for a reason. What's your real motive? If you're still with us, something in this video is hitting home. Maybe you're questioning if you've got what it takes to be a Sigma, or maybe you're just curious about the label. But here's the Stoic truth: Sigmas don't chase labels, they chase growth. They don't need a YouTube video to validate their mindset, they're too busy forging it. So ask yourself, are you here to become something better, or are you just looking for a pat on the back? The answer matters. At Sigma Male Community, we're not about stroking egos, we're about building men who face reality head-on and carve their own path. 6. Solitude feels like a prison sentence. A Sigma male doesn't just tolerate solitude, he thrives in it, recharging in the quiet where others crumble. If being alone with your thoughts feels like torture, if you're reaching for your phone or Netflix to escape silence, you're not self-sufficient, you're running from yourself. Picture a man who spends a weekend alone, not out of necessity but by choice, diving into his work or his mind with no need for distraction. That's Sigma strength, rooted in the Stoic principle of finding peace within, no matter the external noise. This discomfort with solitude often signals a deeper dependency on external stimuli, friends, media, chaos, to drown out your own doubts. But a Sigma doesn't need noise to feel alive. He's comfortable in his own company, using solitude to reflect, plan, and grow. Stoicism teaches us to embrace the present moment, to find clarity in stillness. If you can't sit with yourself for an hour without spiraling, you're not free, you're tethered to distractions. Think of the guy who fills every moment with chatter or scrolling, terrified of what he'll find in the quiet. Now compare that to the Sigma who uses solitude to sharpen his mind, like a blade on a whetstone. He's not lonely, he's liberated, free from the need for constant external input. If solitude feels like a punishment, you're not a lone wolf, you're a pack animal craving the crowd. The challenge? Spend an hour alone, no phone, no noise, just you and your thoughts. See what surfaces. At Sigma Male Community, we believe real strength is forged in those quiet moments. Embrace the Stoic art of self-reliance and you'll find solitude isn't a prison, it's a sanctuary. Stop running from silence, start owning it. 7. You see the world in absolutes. A Sigma male navigates life's gray areas with nuance, adapting to new evidence without ego. If you view people as all good, or all bad, or believe success follows a single script, you're trapped in a rigid mindset that screams immaturity. Picture a man who adjusts his strategy when new facts emerge, unburdened by the need to be right. That's Sigma flexibility, grounded in the Stoic principle of rational thinking. Judge the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. This black and white thinking often comes from a need for certainty, a crutch for those too insecure to embrace complexity. But a Sigma thrives in ambiguity, seeing it as a puzzle to solve, not a threat. He's the entrepreneur who pivots when the market shifts, or the thinker who reconsiders his beliefs when faced with better evidence. Stoicism demands this: let reason guide you, not dogma. If you're stuck in absolutes, you're not independent, you're shackled to simplicity. Contrast that with the man who labels everyone as friend or foe, refusing to see shades of intent. He's not thinking, he's reacting. A Sigma, meanwhile, weighs each situation with calm precision, open to new perspectives without losing his core. If you can't handle complexity, you're not just missing the Sigma mark, you're missing the depth that drives real growth. The fix? Challenge your assumptions. Next time you catch yourself thinking in extremes, pause and ask, what's the other side? At Sigma Male Community, we're here to push you toward clarity, not comfort. Embrace the Stoic art of nuanced thinking, and you'll unlock a world of possibilities. Stop seeing absolutes, start seeing reality. You're obsessed with fitting the Sigma mold. Here's the irony: if you're desperate to check every Sigma box, you're already failing the test. A Sigma male doesn't chase labels. He creates his own path, unconcerned with fitting a mold. If you're scouring videos or forums to prove you're a Sigma, you're not independent, you're seeking approval. Picture a man who lives by his own code, not a checklist from the internet. That's Sigma authenticity, rooted in the Stoic principle of living according to your own nature, not someone else's script. This obsession with labels often hides a need for external validation. You're not asking, who am I? You're asking, who do others think I am? A Sigma doesn't care about the answer. He's too busy building his life, guided by his own compass. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our own virtues, not on matching an archetype. If you're trying to be a Sigma, you're not free, you're performing for an imaginary audience. Think of the guy who tweaks his personality to fit the Sigma stereotype, second-guessing his every move. Now compare that to the Sigma who lives unapologetically, not because he's trying to be anything but because he's true to himself. If you're chasing a mold, you're not just missing the Sigma mindset, you're missing the point of individuality. The path forward? Stop trying to be a Sigma. Focus on being your best self, disciplined, resilient, authentic. At Sigma Male Community, we're not here to sell you a label, we're here to guide you toward real growth. Embrace the Stoic art of self-definition, and you'll find freedom in being you, not a caricature. Stop chasing molds, start forging your own. 9. You fear being misunderstood. A Sigma male doesn't waste energy explaining himself, he lives by his own code, indifferent to others' opinions. If you're constantly justifying your choices or defending your reputation, you're not a Sigma, you're still trapped in the approval matrix. Picture a man who walks away from a debate, not because he's weak, but because he doesn't need to prove his worth. That's Sigma confidence, rooted in the Stoic principle of controlling your own mind, not others' perceptions. This fear of being misunderstood often stems from a need to be liked, a chain that binds you to the crowd. But a Sigma is free, unburdened by the need to clarify or convince. He's the guy who makes a bold choice, quitting a job, pursuing a passion, and lets the results speak for themselves. Stoicism teaches us to let go of what we can't control, like others' opinions, and focus on what we can, our actions, our integrity. If you're explaining yourself, you're not living, you're pleading. Contrast that with the man who's always correcting misconceptions, desperate to be seen correctly. He's not free, he's a prisoner of perception. A Sigma, meanwhile, moves forward, unbothered by misjudgments, because his self-worth doesn't hinge on others' approval. If you fear being misunderstood, you're not just missing the Sigma mark, you're missing the peace that comes with true independence. The challenge? Next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, stop. Act instead. Let your life be your argument. At Sigma Male Community, we're here to help you break free from the need for approval. Embrace the Stoic art of indifference to others' judgments, and you'll find a strength that no critic can touch. Stop defending, start living. 10. You chase trends, not truth. A Sigma male doesn't sway with the crowd. He seeks truth, even when it's unpopular. If your beliefs shift with the latest hashtag or viral opinion, you're not a free thinker, you're a follower. Picture a man who questions the narrative, not out of defiance, but because he's committed to reason. That's Sigma clarity, rooted in the Stoic principle of grounding your life in rational thought, not fleeting trends. This tendency to follow trends often comes from a fear of standing alone. It's easier to echo the crowd than to face the discomfort of dissent. But a Sigma thrives on independence, forming his own conclusions through logic and evidence. He's the guy who reads the original data, not the headlines, and stands by his findings, even if they're out of fashion. Stoicism demands this: let truth guide you, not popularity. If you're chasing trends, you're not leading, you're drifting. Think of the man who jumps on every bandwagon, new diets, new ideologies, new buzzwords, hoping to fit in. Now compare that to the Sigma who builds his worldview on bedrock, unshaken by the crowd's noise. If you're swayed by trends, you're not just missing the Sigma mindset, you're missing the chance to anchor your life in something real. The fix? Question everything. Dig deeper than the surface. At Sigma Male Community, we're not here to spoon-feed you opinions, we're here to push you toward truth. Embrace the Stoic art of independent thought, and you'll find a clarity that trends can't touch. Stop chasing fads, start chasing facts. 11. You need permission to act. A Sigma male doesn't wait for a green light. He moves when he decides, guided by his own judgment. If you're hesitating, seeking reassurance before every step, you're not self-directed, you're paralyzed by doubt. Picture a man who launches a venture not because someone approved it, but because he trusts his own vision. That's Sigma agency, rooted in the Stoic principle of controlling your own actions, not waiting for the world's nod. This need for permission often hides a fear of failure or rejection. But a Sigma doesn't let fear hold the reins. He's the guy who starts a project, makes a choice, or takes a risk, knowing he'll learn from the outcome, win or lose. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our decisions, our effort, and let go of the need for external validation. If you're waiting for approval, you're not free, you're tethered to others' opinions. Contrast that with the man who second-guesses every move, asking for advice he doesn't need. He's not acting, he's stalling. A Sigma, meanwhile, trusts his instincts and moves forward, adjusting as he goes. If you need permission to act, you're not just missing the Sigma mark, you're missing the power of true independence. The solution? Make a decision today, no matter how small, without asking for input. Trust yourself. At Sigma Male Community, we're here to guide you toward that unshakable agency. Embrace the Stoic art of self-directed action, and you'll find a freedom that no permission slip can grant. Stop waiting, start moving. Final truth: being a Sigma isn't about labels, it's about ruthless self-honesty. If these signs hit home, don't flinch. The question isn't, am I a Sigma? It's, do I have the courage to build the discipline, independence, and self-trust to become one? That's the Stoic challenge. Face your flaws, own your path, and act. Sigma Male Community isn't just a channel, it's a call to rise above mediocrity, to forge a life of purpose and strength. If this video struck a chord, don't just nod along, do something about it. Reflect on these signs, apply the lessons, and commit to growth. Like this video, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and hit that notification bell if you're subscribed. We're dropping wisdom every week to fuel your journey. This is Sigma Male Community, where we build men who don't just watch, they act. Now go make it happen.